Hello, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I often talk about tactics and tips and techniques all the time on the show. But one of the most important growth hacks, if you will, for business leaders, marketers, entrepreneurs, and more is having the right mindset, a successful mindset. But is success hard? Why so often do people get trapped in someone else's belief system of what success is? Why are we consumed by negative thoughts when we're surrounded by all of the formulas that can help us be successful? If we know all that, then the question is success easy? Debbie Allen is the best selling author of the new Success is Easy, as well as The Highly Paid Expert. She's a business mentor and successful entrepreneur of several multi-million dollar businesses, and she's ranked in the top 5% of business speakers worldwide. And on this episode, we'll discuss what success is to you, what it should be on your own terms, how success is easy, failing forward, effective self promotion, speaking internationally, the Grand Canyon, fame, and a lot more. So let's tune in to an easy successpreneur with a very successful shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. If you would, tell us a little bit about your background and your career to date for those who haven't read one of your best-selling books.
Okay, well, I started out my career as an entrepreneur when I was 19 years old. That's all I know,
Yeah.
right? Bought into my first business, which was a part of my family business at age 19, right out of high school. I had really crappy grades. I barely passed high school. So college was not an option. So it just proves that you don't have to go to college. You don't have to be the smartest, the smartest one on the block to make it very successful as an entrepreneur. In fact, a lot of us are usually, kind of our own independent thinkers, and that's why we go the other route. We don't necessarily like to learn what we have to learn, but what we want to learn. And
Yeah,
I've done
that's great.
that. Exactly. I've done that. And then built my own businesses. I built 6 different $1 million companies, built them, sold them. And I've been a professional speaker for 25 years. Can't believe it's been that long. Spoke in 28 countries. So I've been around,
Yeah, it's
been around.
amazing. Well, and as I told you before, I had known of you and your books, but I read Highly Paid Expert, which is where I first sort of got a deep dive into who you were and your work, and I love that book. Talk a little bit about the success of it, and I know you talk a lot about creating that niche for people. It's part of what you do is help them market their niche and themselves. But give kind of an overarching viewpoint on what that book has done for you in your career.
Well, every book, Shark, has got a plan. I don't write a book unless there's a business plan. And so this had a plan from the very beginning. It was going to be a book. It was going to be an online course. It was going to be a live workshop, and it was going to be a mentoring program. So when you write a book with that in mind, you teach, but you also tell other people, here's other ways you can expand. If you like the book now, you can come to the live event. You can hire me as your mentor. So basically what I'm teaching in there is my life's work, what I've been doing for over 25 years as a highly paid expert. Started out as a professional speaker, but then when the economic crisis happened in the U.S., it just crashed for so many people. And I was doing it at the height of my career, one of the top paid women speakers in the country. I had my certified speaking professional, which is probably like the top 5% of professional speakers. And so I thought I had it down, right? And I was keynoting at retail conferences, real estate, and mortgage. So what do you think happened to those three industries? The economy crashed, right? But everything crashed. So that's when I took my business internationally and started speaking internationally. So I'm a really good marketer, and obviously I can change things on a dime. And I changed my marketing message and started speaking internationally. About 80% of my business was international within 3 months. Yeah, that saved my ass.
Now, how did you get those gigs? I mean, do you speak any other languages? How do they start reaching out to you, from across any pond and think we've got to bring in this lady who does or does not speak English to talk about success in another language?
Well, it's actually easier to get when you are positioned as a highly paid expert, an expert in what you do.
There you go.
You get lots of opportunities. That's where the highly paid comes in. So I actually wrote another book called Insider Secrets of International Speaking. And I wrote that along with 2 other gentlemen that are based in Australia. They did all the work. They got the publisher, everything. They put my ideas in there with theirs and put my name on the cover. Easiest book to write in the world. international speaking is almost that easy when you have it dialed in. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when you really have it dialed in as an expert, and it showcases that you are truly the expert in the United States and you want to speak just about anywhere and you reach out to people, it's actually easier than you can imagine to speak internationally. I had open doors very quickly. I, speak, probably one of the first ones I spoke in was Singapore, English speaking,
Right.
Australia, English speaking, New Zealand, English speaking. Even when I went to United Arab Emirates, I spoke
Sure.
in Dubai, Bahrain, Kuwait. Countries people thought, I don't want to be there. And a woman, blonde woman in those countries, they're some of my favorites. I actually have been to Dubai 3 times. I actually love it. It's amazing.
The only
I
place
spoke,
that's a little bit hotter than Arizona, where you live now.
yeah, that was a little hot, but
Yeah.
boy, inside they got some awesome things
Yeah.
inside.
Great
It's
air
amazing.
conditioning.
Yeah, great air conditioning, great malls. I mean, it's like one day I went there, was speaking. I did a speaking engagement in the morning. You'd love this because you like doing the dive, right? So I went and did a speaking engagement in the morning, went to the mall, went snow skiing inside the mall, then went
Wow.
shopping, then went to a movie, and then went to dinner all in the same day. Like, that's my day. Like, your day underwater, that's mine. Snow skiing inside of a mall. So, anyways, those countries, see, they spoke Arabic. So, at some of those, there were a lot of English speaking people there. And some of those, like a women's conference I did, they had a translator which spoke Arabic. But the translators are really good. I mean, I spoke in Turkey, a big conference. Almost every single person in the audience did not understand English. So
Mm-hmm.
you can tell because they come in and they put these headphones
Right.
on, and you're like, oh my gosh, like
Like you're at
there's
the UN.
people here,
Yeah.
and like there's a few people without headphones, and one of them is me. And so then at the end, the translator said, "You're going to have to do a Q&A session with the audience." I'm thinking after my keynote, right? And so I'm like, "How's that work?" And she says, "Well, then you're going to put your headset on, and then I'm going to translate to you what the audience questions are, and you just respond to me, and I'll translate." It went beautiful,
Yeah.
smooth. Mexico, another one. Translators were great. A lot of other countries I spoke in were all over Europe, mostly English speaking. So there was only a few of those actually that had translators. Most of them are English speaking. I mean, we're one of the spoiled countries that
Oh yeah.
just thinks we have to need one language, and most
Yeah.
everywhere else you go, they learn English in school as their second language.
No, and I lived overseas, so our ignorance and lack of learning more languages always bothered me. I wish I'd learned more. Well, so excited about Success is Easy, another great book. What made you pivot in this direction with this sort of topic? What made you think I've got to help people knock through a success barrier? Because I love in the intro you say, something like, "Oh, great, another success book. Do we really need it?" And I thought that was great, but you unpack it completely differently than the way most people do.
Well, my book, my New York book agent says, "When you're ready to write another book." And then I'm like, "Well, when I have a plan." And so my plan was to go back into doing more keynote speaking, but I wanted the book to be high level to where it just bounced me, doubled my fee before I ever considered going back in. I like the big conferences, and I also like franchises.
Hmm.
So where I better position myself was entrepreneur, because if you look at half the
Exactly.
magazine, it's franchises. But I had no idea how to get in there, right? So I kept messing around with my New York agent for a year, messing around with the title, and then I came up with Success is Easy. And I'm like, nobody's taught this. Everything I've ever started in business was like very little money to begin, very little knowledge of the industry. Every single business I ever started. And Shark, I will tell you that it's like, there's roadblock blocks along the way if you know what you're doing and have money. But I always found people that were successful in whatever industry I was doing, and I just went fast.
Hmm.
So I was never, one that's like floundering, trying to do it on my own. That's just absolutely crazy. You always have to have a mentor. And why wouldn't you have a mentor that's already successful in what you want to be successful in? So I learned that at a very young age, and just as always gone straight to getting support from very successful people. And so when you do that and you implement what they do, you're coachable, you take action, success really is easy. So when I had the idea and I presented it at a conference, this gentleman had already got his books in, Jeffrey Hazlett, who's now one of my mentors, wrote the foreword for the book.
Hmm.
And, he actually introduced me directly to Entrepreneur. He loved the title. On the very first call, they loved it. She said, "I got to present it to the team, but I think it's sold. We want it. We want something that's edgy, something somebody hasn't said before." When can you give me the book proposal? Because it's like, I didn't even have the book proposal or anything. I mean, sold it from the first call, and it was a whirlwind after that.
Well, so let's dive into the book. You describe ways for us to look at success and common traits that you found in people. Elaborate, if you will, on the number one problem that you also see that doesn't guarantee success. That was something early on that you described, and I'd love to have your thoughts on there.
Right, because success does hold power, and it also takes a certain amount of responsibility to say, "I want success."
Yeah,
And so, what's going to guarantee a failure in success is saying, "Oh, I'm just not successful at things." A couple of people
right.
say, "Like I don't do things, I'm not successful at things. I don't think I can do that." Limited, like you say that, right? And the thing is that that's going to continually to hold you back. And here's another part that I put early on in the book is you got to define your own success. Is that you may think success is like way, way,
Yeah.
way, way up here, so unreachable. But really, because why? Why did you think it was there? And what is that, right? Well, how about starting with here's success? Like I wanted to find my success here, and then when I get here and I achieve it, I'm going to feel confident, and then I'm going to want more. I love the feeling of
Hmm.
success. It's this feeling of achievement, excitement. There's a feeling, it's emotion it creates, and then I want more of it, and then I want more. I'll set another benchmark. But the thing is, sometimes people set the benchmark so high based on somebody else's definition of
Exactly.
success, not their own. And so you set yourself up for failure every single time. So, that's one of the first things I say is, sit down and define your own success. What does that really mean to you? And it's going to be different at different times in your life.
Yeah, and I like the way you described it as well. It's not a singular word for singular meaning. I mean, there are different levels of success. There's different ways. I mean, it's not a one size fits all type of plan, if you will.
Not at all. Not at all. And it's changed so much over the years. I would say early on in my career for speaking, it was like, okay, I want to, I want to be on that big stage. And then if you want to be on this big stage, are you chasing fame or are you chasing fortune? You have to know if you're chasing fame or fortune.
Hmm.
Um, I would rather chase fortune, but the fortune means I get success, and that means I get
Right.
to share it. Because if I have success and I don't get to share it with other people, then I don't feel successful. That's a big, big definition for me because it's who I am. It's what I do, why I do what I do. And
Hmm.
because of that, I get money and opportunity and other things. But first and most important is once I get it, I want to share it. Well, it's just critically important. It's like, so you have to find that piece. Like, what is the thing that say, okay, that's the killer. Is like if you took it away and said, oh, Debbie, only you could have success, but you can't share it with anybody. I'd say, sorry, I don't want any more
Hmm.
because that's more for me. And also, success to me right now means a lifestyle. It's a financial freedom lifestyle. So I get to pick and choose my clients, every single client, whether I'm a speaking engagement, whether it's a personal mentoring client. I pick them all. They become my business family, my personal
Good
clients.
for you.
And I love doing business with them. They get me. They get my core values. They respect that. And because of that, we continue to do business together and referrals come and success just as easy, right? It
Yeah.
really is that, if you present yourself and you showcase the value you have to offer, people just want to work with you. I mean, that's all it is. But it is marketing, but it comes to a place of marketing yourself really in the service of others.
Yeah. Well, another chapter you talked about failures, and I'm curious, why do you think it's that so many people are reluctant to admit failing? I don't know anyone who's been successful who I think of as less successful because they admitted failing to at something.
Right.
In fact, I've never believed the ones who said that they hadn't failed at something. And I know for any successful person, if they've learned from their failures, that's what's going to propel them forward. But kind of unpack failure and how you see that as part of somebody's mindset.
Yeah. So first of all, if you haven't failed, you're not stretching yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You're playing way too close, right? So more successful people fail a lot because they want to fail forward. They want to go, okay, well, I'll figure it out. If I don't get perfect, I'll twist and I'll adjust and I'll do this way. So I'd much rather fail and fail forward, figure it out a lot sooner than to sit there and wait for the answer to be there.
Hmm.
And that's what I've always done. Like I just jump in, both feet, both arms, everything,
Hmm.
and because every new business is dysfunctional.
Yeah.
like a dysfunctional family, it's going to be dysfunctional. You have to figure it out and you have to learn. And only time you're failure is if you give up. That's a failure. is when you say, I quit. This isn't going to work for me. And that's the only time failure is an option. Because it is, I've always had the attitude like, I might not know how to get there, but I am not going to quit.
Yeah.
Quitting is just not an option for me. So if you want to look at it that way, failure is just not something I'm going to accept. Success. I'm going to have a bump in the road. I'm going to have some lessons from some obstacles, but I'm not going to accept failure as my choice because, it's actually easier, Shark, to get success. It's so much easier to be successful than it is to be a failure. We are surrounded by podcasts like yours. It gives information. We're on. You can go on YouTube. You can go all over the internet. You can find it. You can go to events. You can hear mentors. You can read books. I mean, we are surrounded by success opportunities. You can move away from loser friends and find better friends that are more successful and respect you and value your worth to rise you up. I mean, it's success is everywhere, and failure is just bumps. So and people realize that the way they think about it is been really wrong, probably all their life. And a lot of these beliefs that people have around success and failure are negative beliefs. They're false beliefs. And I think that a lot of people have been lied to most of their life to believe that success has got to be hard, because that is not true either. Because I have been around, a hardworking mom all my life, but she never had her own success. And so, and I also, early on when I started my own business, I learned that working harder was not really making me successful. Being strategic, being focused, running it more like a successful business than working hard. And you see this all the time. You see people buy businesses and they work their little butts off and they wonder why they can't get ahead because they're doing every single thing in their business. That doesn't make sense. Working hard does not make good business sense at all.
Mm-hmm. So I love the chapter on self-promotion, which sounds odd to say, but kind of
Everybody loves that chapter.
Describe what is effective self-promotion versus not effective.
Okay, I call it shameless self-promotion. Shameless self-promotion. People don't like the wording of that because they're like, again, a belief system that's not appropriate, right? But they're effective and ineffective. Shameless self-promotion in my book is promoting yourself in the service of others, connecting your head and your heart together to give people an opportunity to work with you. If you aren't tooting your own horn, nobody's going to toot it for you. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I learned that really early on. I mean, you're always starting a new business. You're always starting a new program, launching a new book, doing something else. And if you are not shouting from the rooftops and telling people about how what you're doing is going to help change their lives or their business or their success, then you're losing. And you know what? You're not only losing success opportunities yourself, they're losing out. You're robbing them of the opportunity to work with you. If you truly believe in what you're doing, then you believe that you're better than your competition, but then you're kind of pissed off that your competition is getting all the opportunities. It's because they're promoting and marketing better than you because you're being quiet because you think, oh, I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm supposed to be polite. Heck with that. That makes absolutely no sense in the business world whatsoever, especially when you're coming from the right place. Now, ineffective, what I call shameful self-promotion is let me tell you all about me and let me just sit here and talk about myself and everything I do and not care about supporting other people. And that's bad. You even see that in networking events.
Absolutely.
So, and you go like, I hate networking because you end up with that one shameful person that just wants to talk about themselves for half an hour and you just go, I have no idea what they do. And they never even ask me anything about that myself whatsoever. Yeah. You don't want to do business with that person because they don't care. So there's an art to it, most definitely.
How have you seen that as well for your own career being a female? I mean, look, you're a bold, brash, smart, positive, successful, strong woman who's
I like all those things.
Yeah, I mean, you tell an amazing story and you tell it with force and conviction. But there has been, we've seen a massive transition over the last 50 years of how women are viewed, and you've lived through some of that. How has that sort of affected you in your own place and how people view you as a female talking about success?
Well, I have the background to prove it. I have the case studies to prove it, not only for myself, but all the hundreds of people that I've helped, personally just dramatically increase their business. Like my Rising Star Awards that are, were on my stage just a few days ago at my Highly Paid Expert workshop. And it's like, I hold that just once a year. And I watch these people just blossom. I mean, I just tell them how to do it. Instinctively, I'm a great business person and a great marketer. And I can just help people and guide them with a step-by-step process, and they're coachable. And there's people like we talked about come to my events and they say, I'm broke, I don't have the money, I can't do this, all these excuses, right? And there's people that come that are broke but don't use that excuse. And one of the people that was on my award panel, she came to my event last year, single mom, special needs son, didn't even have money to put down a deposit on. I had to write a post-dated check. And she's now a Rising Star Award winner. She like took her business, created the business. She didn't even have a business idea, right? And so, it doesn't matter. I mean, probably 50% of my clients are male. So, I mean,
Yeah.
they see results and, they think that's really important. But, as I was growing up, I had that, even though it was a family business, my dad was in that generation that women are not as successful as men. And he gave my brother part of the business and I had to buy into the business. And I got less percentage, but I'm glad that I actually did that. But I mean, I think I went for years trying to prove myself to
Exactly.
my dad that I could be successful. I mean, probably into my 50s before he ever said like, I'm proud of you. You're really successful. You've done amazing. I'm like, why did I have to wait till I was in my 50s to even
Exactly.
hear? And that's the reason why I really put that chapter in is define your own success, because you could become a workaholic or just feel you could be amazingly successful and not feel like you're successful because you're trying to live up to whatever somebody else says. And he didn't even know what that definition was. That definition was in his head. So that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But I know that I was a workaholic. I know that I pushed myself way too hard. That's why I have more of a lifestyle of business now. And I make more money than I ever made. But I had to learn the lesson. I want people to learn that lesson sooner than I had to learn.
Well, and the point was not for you to ever have to defend yourself. It was just simply meant as we've made some progress, thank God, and good on you because you made your own success that has nothing to do with whether or not you're male or female. It's just sad when it's sometimes in some people's eyes justified because some guy's the head of sales and gets up there and beats his chest and he's considered successful. And then he attends your workshop and then we see who's really successful. So it's it's
I hear people can, they can try and BS me, but I pretty much
yeah.
can tell in a 5-minute conversation how successful someone is
Yeah.
and where their limitations are very quickly. And a lot of times people are just having conversations and just don't get out of their own way. I had a conversation with one very successful doctor at my event, and he could not make a decision to take his business to the next level. He asked every question. He held out for 3 days. He did everything. I don't know what's stopping him. Money's not stopping him. I think he doesn't want to be coachable. So, that isn't because he doesn't want to be coachable
Well,
with
you
a
did say
woman.
doctor.
Maybe that way. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, I said, you know what you do. You're a doctor. And if I need help, I go to you as a doctor if I'm not feeling good. But you know what? You need help as a for marketing and business. You go to me. I mean, we work as a team. But I'm going to ask you to be coachable.
Mm.
Okay? Can you be coachable? He didn't really answer that question, and I think that's why he's probably still thinking about it to this day.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everybody, man, woman, whatever, you have to be coachable. And a good example of that is one of the gentlemen that signed up with me last year. He's a multimillionaire. He's got a massive amount of business, very, very, very successful. He's never hired a mentor or a coach in his entire life. He's a self-made millionaire, done amazing. He was in a rock band, then he started tattoo companies. Now he's got the #1 tattoo company in the world, and it's all high class, really amazing. And so he wrote a book, and then he didn't know what to do with it. So when I met him, I'm like, "What are you gonna do with that?" "Well, I'm gonna speak." "What do you know about speaking?"
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know much about that. And I said, "Why don't you come to my event?" So he came, and then I called him out in front of the whole audience. I said, "How do you think you've been really, really successful, multimillionaire, doing what you do? But what do you know about speaking and coaching and consulting and book writing and book marketing like I do? You don't know an ounce of that, right? Right. Then why are you not running to the back of the room and signing up for me right now?" And so he did. But it was hard for him because he even told me later, he goes, "I knew I needed you. It's getting past my ego of hiring a coach. And then I couldn't call you a mentor. I had to call you my coach." I'm like, "You can call me a coach." I have a male, one of my male clients calls me boss. And I said, "No, boss." He calls me bossette.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Right.
Okay. Bossette works. I said, whatever it is. Right. But, the thing is, you got to find people that are doing what you do. And then you say, "I want to work with them." So he got over that pretty quickly. In fact, in the first month that he started working with me, he loved the results so much that he had me hire his wife. So I worked with him and his wife in growing the business. And I just, they've done phenomenal. And I got him into Entrepreneur Magazine and got a contract with his second book with them. He was complaining to me about the publisher of his first book, and I said, "Hey, run away from him. You're ready for the big times. Let me introduce you." And
Yeah.
I got a contract, so I got to share that success really big time for him.
Well, I would only consider him successful if he had done a few shark tattoos like I've got. So
All right,
can't really
got him
say.
all
So
sure
so
doing very amazing.
in the book you talk in Success is Easy. It has obviously a very strong marketing foundation. I think it's obviously important for anyone in any field in business to read. But you did put, as you even said earlier, your role as a marketer. Why did you think it was important to apply such a heavy marketing lens to this one?
It's I'm a marketer. I'm a promoter.
Yeah.
That's what I always been. I've been I'm a scrappy entrepreneur that turned into a marketer and entrepreneur, right? So I've been doing events for 15 years. I've been doing writing books for a long time, doing all of those other things. And marketing is everything because I mean, what I talk about, even highly paid experts about positioning yourself, and in this one too. I mean, the two biggest skills you need in business, once you get past the head stuff, everything, are going to be sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you pick a path and you say, "Hey, I'm going to be really good at marketing because I don't like sales so much, so that'll cut my time of selling," and it will, right? So that's kind of where I started. I didn't think I liked sales so much, so I got really good at marketing. I love marketing. It's like a very creative thing for me. And then because of that, I got really really good at sales. Now I teach people how to do sales, how to educate and then sell, make an offer. And it's one of my favorite things I do. So, I'm always learning, like when I need to learn another skill, it's not only just for me, it's something that I can do and do well and then teach it to other people.
So many entrepreneurs today that come to me and ask for advice that they don't understand the value, and it's probably deeper back to being successful, but they don't understand the value of marketing themselves early. I was just interviewed on a podcast the other day. It's because so many of them are just sort of afraid to really put themselves out there, and I don't know why. But there's so many other good chapters in here for marketers and business leaders. I mean, you talk about success being a lifelong learner, which you are. With talking about the art of influence, about mastering sales and marketing. Of all the things that we learn normally in business, what were some of the things that you really saw that stood out that people that do well in business could apply to make themselves that much more successful more quickly, if that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. Two of them specifically, I talk about them in my book. One is focus. I'll talk about that in a minute. The other one is because you kind of covered what that guy is. Somebody asked you a question, they asked you a question, they didn't apply it, right? That's what I
Oh
call an
yeah,
ask. That's what you call
ask
an
call.
ask.
Yeah, I
It's in my
remember.
book.
Yeah,
An asshole. So you need to learn the skill of asking because it's very, very powerful. But when you ask somebody, you better implement it, right? So yeah, that's very frustrating when people ask and they don't do it. But people that are hungry, people that are enthusiastic to learn. Like when I was 30 years old, started my own business by my own after selling out my family business. I was hungry. I didn't know anything about the retail business. I had bought a store and it was losing money for 6 years, and I paid money to buy it,
sure.
and I had to turn it around. I turned it around from $100,000 to $2.5 million in 2 years,
Which
just
was
by
when you
mental.
were 30, was just 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Thank you for that. Yes. And but I found the right people. I asked to be in their group. I asked to be part of it. I asked to, for their support. And you have to ask in a way that supports. And the reason I got an Entrepreneur Magazine is because I asked and
Hmm.
asked in the right way. I would say that's one of my biggest skills is that I got my asking gear a heck of a lot and ask for the right things. And I teach that skill to my clients because I see that when they learn this skill and they learn to do it really, really well, that just more and more opportunities. If you could just get more comfortable with asking for things in a very giving win-win situation, you're going to get so much more. It's just very, very powerful. So that's one of the biggest skills that people miss out on. And again, I will always be the asker,
Yeah.
and I will keep my mind on top of it. And then the other one is focus. Get rid of the squirrel syndrome that goes around. There's a whole story about the squirrel syndrome in the book. It's a really big one, and it's one of the lessons I learned even when I was in my early 20s because I would see my dad. When he focused on certain businesses, he'd be very successful. He was never an entrepreneur until just before I graduated from high school. He was a car salesman. Shameless.
Hmm. Hmm.
He was a car salesman for 20 some years, and then he got into this car rental business. And then later opened up a mini storage business, one of the first in Northwest Indiana that we sold to a major company called Public Storage. That was our first $1 million sale before the age of 30. And so, the thing is that when he focused on those, I would see it just go and just soar, and he didn't really know much about those things, and he learned it. He never used excuses. But then when he got later on, he started gambling, like with business ideas, like, okay, I'll do another thing. And then he wouldn't focus on it, wouldn't go fast. He'd get bored, he'd drop it and it would fail. Or, just a little bit of success. But the ones he focused on were really successful. And so I learned at a really young age, you pick a path, you build it, you focus on it, and you get it done.
Hmm.
And I just knew that I was learning these lessons, but I knew someday I'd have my own businesses. I paid attention. But I was in a really tough environment, growing up with that business. I mean, our car rental business was outside of Gary, Indiana, which is the number one place in the country at the time for car thefts and murders, right outside of Chicago.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was tough. Like, we're repossessing cars, we're young age because we got to get a car back, whatever we got to do. Right. That was our family outings. I learned a lot of lessons early on that, I think, how did I turn out so tough? And, like, these things, I like never give up. I learned it before I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
Like, who is thrown into a business where they just say, my dad just said, run it. Right. And I'd have to figure it out because I didn't want to go get a job. I wanted to be there.
Well, in business and life, you're working closely with so many people. You talked about, like, the lady, you talked about the gentleman whose wife you now coach as well. So many people that you're helping them with in business, and a lot of them, it's also sort of in life. Have you seen a divide or not between their business life being 100% successful in the way they define it versus the way they personally define success for themselves? Granted, there's some twists and turns with that, but is someone, when they pull together themselves as successful, do you see it just sort of being that way throughout their life, or do they just dive in more as, killer business leaders only?
They're two completely different people.
They are.
I would say that's quite interesting. The one, I won't mention their names, but I will say the gentleman is he's more low key. He's easier to work with.
Yeah.
The wife is real high strung, like, rah,
Yeah.
like, can't handle stress very well. So when I see this stress, how she does in her own business, like the other business, I'm like, and all the employees they have and all the locations they have, I would want that. To me, that wouldn't feel successful, but to them, that does. But again, even though they feel successful in that, they're like, okay, we can do this. We've got employees to run this, but now we're bored. We're entrepreneurs. So, hey, we want to write a book. We want to speak to people. We want to mentor, because we don't want to, they're at the point now where they're, getting to that age where they want to share their success. So they get that. They're very giving. They've always given to charities and stuff like that, but now they want to give success strategies to people. So that's why they actually end up doing this together, so they can go speak anywhere in the world they wanted to, on the same stages, and mentor clients and do that. It's not for money as much as, there's of course a price for it, nice price for it, but it's more because that's another thing that they want to give back. It was a piece.
Sure.
As a true entrepreneur, they wanted to. So it's interesting to see them. They're just really high strung business people. They make it all work. They always do. They get great teams around them, and then they go the other end. And they
Right.
go,
Exactly.
totally vacation,
Yeah.
party time. It's like they play hard and they work hard. I would say that.
Well, success may be easy, but marketing success books in a crowded field is not easy. What's your level of success for this book? What are your goals for what you'd like to see the book do and do for people? I know it's not necessarily book sales per se, but what's your, where do you want to see the legacy of the book go?
Yeah, that's a good word, Shark. It's legacy, because that's why I really wrote it. It's a legacy that somebody can look at their shelf years from now and say, this book changed my life.
Yeah.
Book is my Bible. And people are saying this on, like, the first week it was out, and podcasts I'm on. This is like the Bible of success. This is amazing. Really high level people that have written their own very, very successful books. Joe Vitale, T. Harv Eker. I mean, some of these high level people, they're just raving about the book. So I know that there's so many golden nuggets in there, and I keep hearing that too. The thing is that we need the legacy that somebody says, hey, that's a book that changed my life. So it is a plan. Of course, it is a bestseller. We're pushing it to bestseller still. Actually, I was invited to be on Bestseller TV in New York City So I'll be going to New York City to do that TV show, and doing a corporate book signing for that. And so, yeah, it's that to me is great, but it's not really the numbers, like you said,
Yeah.
as much as it's leaving that change. That my goal is to a lot more people to say, I always thought it was hard, and reading this book tells me something completely different. I'm going to go for it. That would be amazing to see that happen.
Well, then to start, other than getting a copy of the book, what are some of the basic ways that you want people to start taking advantage of being successful to help them move forward and make success easy?
Well, I've got tons of bonuses. All my
Mhm.
fabulous JV partners that promoted the book, like T.R. Beckert and Kendall Summerhawk and Barbara DeAngelis and Joe Vitale and a lot more, they all gave me gifts to promote the book. So if when you're going to go buy the book online, you go to buy the book online, go back to my site, successeasybook.com/bonus, and then just put your receipt number there. If you bought it on Kindle or a hard copy, whatever, put your receipt in there, receipt number in there, and then it gets you the page with all the bonuses, thousands of dollars. Jeffrey Hazlett offered a heroes package, leadership
Wow.
package of over $1,000. I mean, it's just huge. So successeasybook.com/bonus. And they're all there for you. So that makes success easy when you have videos and everything else that my super super successful friends gifted you on top of the getting the book, and then read the book and
And
then write
then
me
leave a review.
great.
Exactly. Well, Debbie, shark attacks are extremely rare in the Phoenix area. So rare that
Yes,
I've never heard of one unless it was maybe at the aquarium at Talking Stick Resort and Casino. But
that could be maybe the only place.
the only place, but I've got to ask, what is your favorite kind of shark and why?
I would say the hammerhead, because it's so weird looking.
There you go.
you know, it's so bizarre that you just want to just stare at it and go, how is this really even possible? I love animals, and I love, to, hear, Shark Week. I watch
Mhm.
that, right. And see about all the different kinds of animals that are out there. But it's just, that's a bizarre one.
Yeah.
Really.
Well,
Have you ever swam with the hammerhead?
yeah, the great hammerhead and the regular hammerhead. Yes, I have.
Wow,
I'm going
cool.
to in Florida in I don't even know what today's date is. 33 days, 30, yeah, 30, 34 days. I'll be swimming with likely hammerheads and bulls in Northwest Florida.
Well, be safe. I've only swam with the sand sharks, were
Yeah,
about that big. I was okay with that. I was actually in Maldives
yeah,
Islands. I spoke there. And I was looking off the pier at
yeah.
the end of the pier where we had lunch, and there were sharks all around us, but I had no idea. Like huge sharks, but I didn't know they were there. I probably wouldn't have volunteered to go into that area if I knew that.
Yeah.
But the little ones were fine.
Well, Debbie, it's a special time of the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions you're going to be asked today?
Sure, shoot them
All right,
at me. Go ahead. I don't even know what they are. Go
I
ahead.
know. All right, here we go. Another Debbie Allen question, and thank goodness you bought the naming rights to DebbieAllen.com, but a different Debbie Allen. Fame the movie or Fame the TV show?
Fame the movie.
Okay. I don't know that I'd
Remember
pick either, but
my name. Just
exactly.
remember my name. Yeah.
All right, number 2. You're in Arizona. The canyons or the desert?
The desert. I spend more time there. And that's I just really love the desert. I love like when it's spring and it rains and we get all those
Yeah.
flowers. You don't realize how beautiful it can be. We just had a lot of rain here just like a week ago. And so all the flowers are coming out again. It's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
Good. Number 3. Being a successful speaker or being a successful entrepreneur?
Being a successful entrepreneur, speaking is just part of that
Okay.
skill I learned.
Number 4. Donuts or bagels?
Donuts.
Good.
Give me those donuts.
It's the things that really people really care about. Number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Cornbread. I don't get that very much. Good stuff. The good stuff.
Yeah. Well, Debbie, where can people find out more about you? Grab a copy of the book. I'll put it in the show notes, put links on my site as well. But where do you want to point people to find out more about you, what you're doing, where you're speaking, the masterminds, and everything else?
Okay, go to debbieallen.com. Remember my name, DebbieAllen.com. When you're on there, you're going to see me with a Superwoman cape on and a video. Click on that. Join to get my free videos. They're really fun. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, you'll enjoy those videos equally as much. And those are on there for absolutely free. And then go over to the book site, successiseasybook.com/bonus. Go grab all those bonuses I have for all of you here. And what a pleasure it's been with you always.
Debbie, it's been an honor.
I want to hang out with you more, but not under the water with the sharks.
There you go.
Okay? You just tell me more.
Yeah, thank you again for being with us on A Shark's Perspective.
My pleasure.
So there was my conversation with Debbie Allen, the best-selling author of the new Success is Easy, as well as the highly paid expert. She's a business mentor and successful entrepreneur of several multi-million-dollar businesses, and she's ranked in the top 5% of business speakers worldwide. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with her. First, you have to define your own success. Don't go by what others have defined. You simply set yourself up for failure that way. This has always been a core belief of mine as well. So what does success mean to you? We hear so often that he or she is successful, but that's based on someone else's belief system. Yours is the one that matters most, and how you project that success is what can make more people want to work with you and hire you. Love it when she said, and I quote, "If you present yourself and you showcase the value you have to offer, people just want to work with you. That's all it is." But it is marketing, but it comes to a quick place of marketing yourself really in the service of others. So true. You could be successful and not know, so don't let someone else's goal system necessarily be yours. Second, people are reluctant to admit failing, and I have no idea why. I know that I sure have struggled on more than one occasion. We see all of these motivational speakers and experts who don't admit failure, and I'm not sure why. It's not a sign of weakness, and not admitting it sure isn't a sign of authenticity. As she said, successful people fail a lot, and they want to fail forward. Henry Ford had failure, Steve Jobs did, every famous musician, actor, athlete, business leader, millionaire, and they had failures that they leveraged and learned from in order to move forward and get better. And we're surrounded by the formulas today with successful opportunities. As she said, there are so many resources out there today with the right answers. You know what to do even when presented by negative problems, so don't get trapped in your own brain. Third, in today's world, you've simply got to be an effective self-promoter. So study how. Help the world with the knowledge you've gained. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you for the privilege of your time. So go out there and define your own success today, and join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.